Connecticut East This Week is supported by...
Don't let harmful mold damage your property and cause health concerns. Call the experts at Service Master by Mason to eliminate harmful mold and mildew from your home or business. Call today, 860-455-1249 or servicemasterbymason.com.
They've been setting parts of Connecticut on fire on purpose for years. We join CT DEEPS Forestry Division as they conduct prescribed burns across the state to reduce the risk of brush fires. Plus, we take a look at other stories making the headlines from around the region. This is Connecticut East This Week. Hello, I'm Brian Scott Smith. From the wildfires of California to Canada, we see pictures on TV and in newspapers of the devastation these fires can bring to the country and to local communities as well as wildlife. And even here in Connecticut in 2024, the state dealt with over 600 wildfires, impacting over 510 acres of land that saw the death of one firefighter and 8 others injured, with several structures lost as well as one residential property. And many of these fires can be avoided if we all take our responsibility for our own actions when we're out and about in the woods and forests of the state, and make sure that if we have fires, be that campfires or barbecues, that we put them out, as many of the state's brush fires are started by human intervention. So to help reduce the risk of larger brush or wildfires, the Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection's Forestry Division undertakes what are called prescribed burns across the state at various locations each year to manage and reduce the risk of fire, but also to help the environment. I was invited to one of the prescribed burns recently, and we started the day with a weather report.
West winds, sustained, generally around 13, 14 miles an hour at times, gusts to 17, 18 miles an hour, generally increasing as the day goes along. Peak temps will be in the mid 50s to upper 50s, and RHs will be dropping down to about 26 by late afternoon. So should be good burning conditions.
Tom, just explain where we are and what's going to happen today.
So we're up off of the Chautauqua Turnpike and state lands doing a prescribed burn. Our goal is to mitigate hazards and improve wildlife management habitat for this unit.
And how big is the area that you're going to be dealing with today?
It's around 29.5 acres.
That seems fairly sizable, is it?
In consideration for what we do, yeah, it's a good size. Last week's was about 70 acres, so we have a broad variety of sizes that we help manage with wildlife.
I believe this is possibly maybe the last one for April. There was 4 or 5 that you were going to do. How have they all gone?
Everyone has been successful. We've reached management goals that we were hoping to achieve, knowing that the first one was a little bit sandier than most, and we'll take probably another year or 2 before we can really effectively meet those goals. It's gone very well, and we'll continue to progress with it. If we have windows to burn, we're going to continue to burning them as well. We've only done, this will be the 3rd one so far this year. So.
The other thing is as well, it's a lovely day today, but the wind is picking up a little bit. How will that play into, what it is that you have to do by way of actually controlling this? Because although you're burning it, it's a controlled burn.
So we'll start what's called a backing fire, and we'll start on the opposite end of the way the wind is blowing and work into the wind to establish good black line to keep it safe from going farther into hardwood stocks that we really don't want it to go into. The wind is going to be monitored by our safety officer throughout the burn, and if it increases to the point where we can't continue to burn, the burn boss may decide to stop the burn altogether.
A team of, I've counted roughly around about 20 people, so a fairly sizable team here today. What's the makeup of that team?
So they're a mixture of deep forest protection, wildlife units, and park staff.
And is there anybody here that maybe it's their first or their second one, and then they're maybe using this as a bit of an extra training aspect for them?
I don't believe we have any brand new people on. With that being said, though, any training that even seasoned firefighters can gain is very helpful for what we do throughout the state and protecting when a wildfire occurs.
You've got a fair amount of equipment here today. Just talk us through roughly some of the equipment, because some of it is all-terrain, so just give us an idea of the equipment that you've got to assist you today.
Yeah, we have a bombardier over there with tracks. It's a slow-moving individual with full safety equipment and water on it. They can access the field. That's a kind of tractor model. The next item is a Type 7, which is a side-by-side. Same thing, it has water, suppression capabilities, seat belts, helmets, stuff like that. We respond in fall. Our goal with that one is to extinguish the fire as we go on and create black line. And then the Type 6 is our larger unit. That's going to be primarily used if the worst case happens and we need more water or it breaks containment.
And I believe the Type 6 is the safety vehicle, is that correct? Or part of the safety protocols here?
So the Type 6 is part of the safety protocols. We have a minimum requirement for the prescribed burn as to what we have for equipment, and all 3 units meet those prescriptions.
And we're at the Patchogue State Forest in Voluntown, so I understand that all the necessary sort of like agencies around here locally are informed and are aware that you're out here today as well.
Yes, so emergency dispatch, fire departments are notified directly. Our deep dispatch is notified, as well as a media blast going out to local neighbors to let them know that we're burning. We've also staged signs throughout the roadways to let people know we're burning.
And roughly, if the weather is in your favour today, how long will it take you to do this particular prescribed burn?
Each unit's a little different. We're guesstimating maybe an hour to get good consumption all the way around. But again, something could change that, and it may take longer or shorter.
If it is an hour, that seems pretty quick to somebody who doesn't know anything about it, is that?
It can be quick, yes. Yeah, again, it's all dependent on what we have to do in order to mitigate any potential of escape.
And just to go over this again, the reason for the prescribed burn is to help to eliminate the possibility of a larger fire if that should happen, but also its habitat as well. Just talk to us very briefly about that.
So we're trying to manage habitats for animals such as birds, rabbits, deer. It helps the silviculture of the soils and increases the nutrients within that soil to help the plants and grass and shrubs grow better.
Michelle, I understand that you are a forester here at Patchogue State Park. You're here today as part of the prescribed burn team. What does that mean for you to be part of this, and why is it important for you to be here?
It's a good opportunity. Patchogue has historically had some pretty large fires come through it, so a lot of the forest that you see here is regenerated because of fire. So we have some species here in Patchogue that are fire dependent. So it's nice to be able to do what's naturally right for the forest.
I think people listening are going to think, that's bizarre, they're burning the forest to make it better. But this is something that's been going on for many years, isn't it? And it does actually help the situation, as you say, because there's certain species. When you say species, you were talking about what, plants and trees and things?
Yeah, in this particular situation, when we're in a grassland, having a fire eliminates a lot of the early successional tree species that come in and convert the grassland into a forestland habitat. And what we're trying to do is keep it as a grassland. So a lot of your thin bark species like birch and maple don't tolerate fire. So it's a natural way, instead of mowing it, to keep the habitat as it is right now. And yeah, fires have been happening for centuries. Actually, I was just looking up the history of this particular area for a management plan that I'm writing, and we had a very large fire come through here in the 1920s, is what we have record of, and certainly burned before then as well.
And also, I'm guessing invasive species, it's a way to maybe tackle some of that, because they can be difficult to control.
Yeah, definitely. It's a kind of a natural way to proliferate our native species.
What are you expecting today? It's a nice weather day, but the wind is ramping up a little bit. Just give us what your thoughts are of what you expect to happen today.
We'll see some flames. It'll hit some pockets of flashy fuels, so we'll get some potentially tall flames in areas. Fire kind of makes its own weather as it goes about, so it'll be fun to watch the wind circulate around some of the flames in some areas. I think it'll be good. It's going to be a good day for a fire.
We know that you have to get ready, so Michelle, thanks for talking to us.
Thank you.
Oni Knight, I'm the safety officer trainee.
So we're here, a test patch, I believe, is being lit up. How's it going from your professional opinion?
It's off to a slow start here, but we're in the shaded corner. We do test fires to get an idea what the fire behavior is going to be, if we're going to meet our management objectives before we commit to taking on the larger project, and that's how it works. So we start with a little corner and see how things go, and if everything looks good, we go to general ignitions and proceed with the rest of the units. But yeah, that's test fire.
How have they gone so far this year? Because you've had, I believe, 3 or 4, haven't you?
We have. We've done mostly grass units. We were able to take advantage of weather that was a little breaks between the raindrops, and had some really good fire effects. I don't know exactly how many acres we've done so far, but
You're holding up a little device there. Just explain what it is that you're looking at.
so this is just a wind meter. Today it's going to be gusting winds, so we're just keeping an eye on, see how winds are actually affecting. Because things are damp here in the southeast of the state, wind is definitely helping us out, dry out fuels, and make stuff available as we get into patchy fuels in this unit. A little wind's good today.
It started back with the Native Indians long before us. They would manage the land a lot better than we do now, with just fire and the thought of burning out to make access easier.
So we were talking a little while ago and found out that you are a former firefighter. So now you're burning things instead of putting fires out. Just talk to us a little bit about that transition, because it's going to be an interesting one for people to hear, I'm sure.
Well, I guess once you're a firefighter, it's in your blood, whether you're lighting them or extinguishing them. But we have a phrase, put the wet stuff on the red stuff. And when we do create this beast we call fire, it is neat to see it occur, and it's also satisfying to put it out. So I guess there's a fine line somewhere in there.
You've actually been doing prescribed burns and helping out with wildfires all over the US. What keeps you coming back to do that? Because it can be a very dangerous situation.
We know, and we are trained to know when it's not safe to go in or go over the landscape. But it's been the excitement of it, the physical work involved in it, being on the outdoors, and ever-changing from day to day. Never a routine you can count on that we're going to see this today. It's always different. I guess that's the excitement part.
The people that are here today, I understand that the majority of them are quite experienced, but it is an opportunity as well for for less experienced, it's like firefighters, to understand fire a little bit better as well, isn't it?
Certainly, the longer you're dealing with fire, the more you understand it, but you're never to the point where you're comfortable and you know everything. You're always learning. And to the new people that come out and experience this, sometimes there's that chill that goes down the back of your spine. Is this okay? And you see the people that have the knowledge to control it the way we're doing it today, that make you realize that, yes, you can. And it is safe in some cases to be burning like this, and as long as you know how to control it.
It seems to be going quite well from a layman's point of view, but from your professional point of view, how does it seem to be going so far today?
Again, it's not a routine that you just go in and light certain areas and just let it go. They experiment with the winds, the type of fuels that they're actually igniting, and using that, they adjust their plan accordingly. And today, they're doing it a little slower because of the winds, and the vegetation is not burning as good in this area because it's cooler right now. That can change, and they'll change their tactics accordingly and keep it in control.
It's something that you have to do quickly. As I stand here recording this with you, I can feel the heater on my back a little bit. Yes. The wind obviously has shifted somewhat. It keeps you on your toes.
It certainly does. Sometimes, like I said, it gets the hair in the back of your neck to stand up and say, oh boy, okay, that's really taken off. But it seems well controlled. The winds haven't picked up too much, and we seem to be doing well with it. So.
Tom, we're just continuing the burn here. How's it going? Just give us a sense of how you feel it's going.
It's going really well. We're getting good consumption. We're keeping it within where we want. That little spot over there was just so it didn't get ahead of us, what we were extinguishing, but we are going to continue to burn from there. So it's going really well. Everybody's doing great work.
And the weather, we felt the wind change several times. Is it relatively playing ball with you?
Yeah, the wind's a little squirrely, but safety's monitoring for us, and we're still within prescription as far as we can tell.
And some of the areas, there seem to be a lot of smoke. Is that endemic of the fact that some of it's still a little bit wet as against some of the drier stuff?
Yes, so in the shade, it took a little bit to get going. That was the moisture. As it moves through, you'll continue to get that moisture because it's still pretty early in the morning for burning. What you're going to see, though, is a lot of smoke. Different species of plants will burn hotter and not as hot, and they'll cause more smoke depending on what's happening.
And generally, as you said, it seems you seem happy about how it's going. You're just topping up with water here because part of your job is to go out and just tamp down anything that's maybe what is just escaping.
Yeah, we're not. It's more of a slop over, and what we're doing is we're helping contain the black line and create that black line and that way it doesn't creep over our line into the forest where we don't want it. And we are topping off just to make sure we're 100% full and ready to go for the next round.
So it looks like we're about possibly, I don't know, maybe about a third or a quarter of this area done already?
I'm not sure on the size. I know if they don't break it up, there's another road farther down, so depending on how they break it up, this could be like a quarter. If they don't do that side, it's probably going to be more like a half.
So we'll let you get back to it. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Tanner Steves, wildlife biologist, Connecticut DEP, Wildlife Division, State Lands, Habitat Management Program.
Tanner, we've just finished about a 2.5 hour, I think it was, burn at Patchogue Forest, part of a prescribed burn which is happening. You've coordinated this. Your title is Burn Boss in Training. Explain to us what that is and basically what the role was.
Sure, yeah. As a wildlife biologist, here designing and prescribing this management technique, work beneath fire professionals who have spent years in this field. So Burn Boss is in charge on paper. I, in my role of helping to design and coordinate this, here to learn and to help coordinate the entire effort.
Give us a bit of an idea. There's a lot that goes into this. As a lay observer today, I watched a lot of very technical, very proficient individuals coordinated, doing things in a very structured way.
Yeah, absolutely. So a huge portion of what goes into this is the weather. And so we're using the conditions that we're presented with on any given day. Those weather conditions have to be within prescription of what we've written in our burn plan, relative humidity, wind speed, temperature. And then we also have the fuel that's presented with us in our burn units. Is it grass? Is it shrubs? Is it trees? Is it leaf litter? So you're taking all of your environmental conditions, looking at your burn unit, and then placing all of your people where they need to be to accomplish the burn. And that's people with water to suppress the fire, that's people with tools to hold the control lines, and then that's people with drip torches with fire to ignite the fuels.
How important is it to do things like this here in Connecticut, and should we be doing more of it?
Yeah, I do think we should be doing more of it. There's always capacity issues and timing issues and weather issues. And so we have a window in the spring, which we call our dormant season, when things have not greened up yet. And if things are not too windy and if things are not too wet, we do have an opportunity to do some burning, but we can't necessarily burn all throughout the year. There's other concerns for fire danger, there's concerns for wildlife, and so we have a window of time that we use in the spring to do that. We have a certain amount of what we might call fire adapted communities, but the entire state necessarily wouldn't benefit from prescribed burning. So we try to apply it in places like Patchogue State Forest, where we have pitch pine and we have fire adapted species, fire tolerant species that can be sustained and enhanced through this practice. And fire is a good way to sustain this shrubland habitat, a good way to sustain this pitch pine habitat for better wildlife habitat.
And how often will you actually do a prescribed burn? We're here today at Patchogue Forest, around about, I believe, 20-acre site. How often would you come back to do that?
So every site's a little bit different, but you can think of it as an interval. And we look back to historical burn intervals, and it could be anywhere from 5 to 20 years in the Northeast. And a site like this, we're trying to shift the vegetation from trees, our sapling, birches, and cherries. We're trying to shift away from that to more shrubs, our sheep laurel, our blueberry, our warm season grasses. And so we're going to be here with repeated entries early on in the process. So this was first burned back in, say, 2015. It hasn't been burned for a while. It was burned again in 2023. And at the moment, we're coming here once every 3 to 5 years or so. And we'll likely continue that interval into the future.
Everyone's dispersing now, as I say. It's been a good day today, another good prescribed burn. What were your feelings about how it went?
I think it was successful, yeah. Safety is always number one. Everyone went home safe. We controlled the fire well. We've accomplished our objective, burning the vast majority of the unit, and we'll wait to see what grows back, to see what sort of results we get, and see what sort of wildlife come back to this site.
Thank you ever so much for the interview.
Thanks.
According to recent figures from CT DEEPS, so far this year there have been 155 fires that have impacted around 385 acres, which compares to 77 fires for the same period in 2024, meaning we've already seen a doubling of the number of fires this year.
Remember, always be generous with the nutmeg. Just eyeball it.
Okay.
Mom's wisdom has served you well, but now it may be your turn to guide her.
Hey, I'm worried about Mom. She keeps forgetting her famous sweet potato pie recipe.
Some things come with age, sis.
And some don't.
Knowing the early signs of Alzheimer's in a loved one will help you make the best decisions for your family. Visit 10signs.org to learn the signs. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Time now for a look at other stories making the headlines this week. The Connecticut Agricultural Experiment Station and the Department of Agriculture are warning residents about mystery seeds that are turning up in the mail. Jacob Ricker is the state entomologist and says if people do receive these seed packages, they need to dispose of them.
We do not know what are contained within those seeds. There could be bacteria or fungus that are not good for Connecticut agriculture that we'd like to avoid as much as we can. They could be an invasive weed that we also are trying to prevent the spread of. So there could be anything that is contained in those seeds, which is why we need citizens to also send them to the USDA to investigate and also destroy them.
Ricker says this happened before back in 2020 and they're seeing it surge again this year.
These are coming in as almost freebies for people that have made purchases online or to citizens or residents that have made purchases in the past. They're kind of coming up out of nowhere. Maybe they ordered something online months or weeks ago and they're receiving them today, or they received them in tandem with the previous shipment or package that they also ordered. So it's all over the place.
Ricker says the seeds often come from China and may contain bacteria or insects that would be harmful to Connecticut plant and wildlife, as well as agriculture. Brian Hurlbert, the commissioner for the Connecticut Department of Agriculture, said unauthorized seed shipments violate federal and state rules and could pose a threat to state farms and food supply. Residents receiving the seeds should not plant them, but Ricker says people should contact the local USDA office in Connecticut or the experiment station on how to dispose of the seeds safely and to provide them with the mailing label so they can monitor where the seeds are coming from. Rallies for a morning without childcare took place across 12 cities in Connecticut recently. The aim was to draw attention to the childcare affordability crisis in the state and how it's impacting not only parents and their children, but also employers and the state's economy. Eva Bermuda Zimmerman is Coalition Director for Childcare for Connecticut, a statewide organization working to strengthen Connecticut's families and economy, and the organizer behind the event.
Across the state, we're demanding for more funding for childcare and making sure that this year, the three headliner bills from the House, the Senate, and from the governor's proposal actually are real.
Zimmerman says she hopes the $300 million that Governor Lamont has promised to help with childcare costs in the state actually happens.
In previous years, we've been advocating and only getting Band-Aids, $100 million here, $100 million there. This year, there is an opportunity for money in an endowment, so it could be a steadfast, reliable way for sustainable childcare funding and making sure that parents don't pay so much and providers get paid more.
Joshua Kelly is the CEO of Thames Valley Council for Community Action, or TVCCA, and are one of the region's childcare providers. He says the rallies are also an opportunity to invite local legislators in to hear what the problems are.
We had 3 different state legislators who were able to attend. They got to hear some real stories about how impacted our families are right here in New London and the surrounding communities. It's vitally important that these stories are shared so that there's a little bit more of a push at the state level to commit to funding, commit to more funding, not just level funding.
The average cost of childcare in the state can cost parents around 27% of their yearly income alone, and in New London County, there are currently 500 unmet child spaces because of a lack of affordability and a lack of childcare professionals. Farmers in Connecticut can now find out whether their farm is contaminated with the forever chemicals called PFAS. Scientists at the Connecticut Agricultural Experiment Station have launched their new PFAS soil analysis program, which provides testing for free. Dr. Sarah Nason heads up the PFAS testing program at the station and explains what's involved.
We provide PFAS sampling kits to make sure that all the samples we receive at the lab are clean. So you would send us an email to schedule a time to pick up a kit, and then you could collect your own own soil samples and bring them back to the lab, then we have a 30-day turnaround time. We'll provide data directly to the farmers. We don't immediately share them with anybody else. We provide the data directly to you.
The test will look at 14 of the most common PFAS toxins using certified EPA methods for soil analysis. Nason says it can give farmers peace of mind for their own health and safety and for anything they produce or grow.
Many farms get their drinking water from wells that are on the property. So if there's PFAS contamination, it can be a sign that they need to get water testing done. It can also help protect consumers. If PFAS levels are found, farms might not want to provide edible products from certain portions of their farm. On the flip side, if we find only low background levels of PFAS, this can be a real positive for farms. If they can say that we've done PFAS testing, we found that they're clean, so it could really be a benefit to farmers to know that they don't have a problem as well.
Farmers can contact the station to obtain soil testing kits. The program is voluntary and details can be found at portal.ct.gov/CAES and search for PFAS soil testing. The Connecticut House of Representatives has approved legislation that requires all school districts statewide to adopt a policy on the use of smartphones by students in K-12 public schools as part of an effort to promote distraction-free learning in the digital age. The legislation directs local and regional boards of education to use the policy guidance document crafted by the Connecticut State Department of Education in the development of their local smartphone policies. Districts will be required to adopt a policy in time for the start of the 2026-2027 school year and continue having an approved policy each school year thereafter. The legislation will be sent to the Senate for its consideration. That chamber must approve the bill by the end of the 2025 regular session, which concludes on June 4th. And the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection has purchased just under 650 acres of land at Bailey Hill Road in Killingly to establish a new wildlife management area. CT DEEP paid just over $4 million for the site from the seller Tri-Lakes LLC, using a combination of 75% federal funding and 25% state bonding. CT DEEP said they regularly try to purchase land for preservation where they can, and said they purchased this parcel to establish the new wildlife management area. A spokesman for CT DEEP in a statement said the land supports a diverse and ecologically significant landscape, including forest, wetland, and 4 lakes that provides habitat for fish, birds, and other wildlife. Purchase will protect critical ecosystems, preserve biodiversity, support healthy watersheds, and enhance natural carbon sequestration. It will also offer passive recreational opportunities like wildlife viewing and fishing, consistent with DEEP's mission to conserve Connecticut's natural resources for public benefit. The new Killingly site joins another 100 plus similar sites across the state, and the new site will be open in the next few months. Interested residents can find out more by visiting CT DEEP's website at ct.gov/DEEP or CT DEEP's Bureau of Natural Resources Facebook page at facebook.com/CT Fish and Wildlife. That's all from us for this edition. Do send us your questions and story ideas to the show via our website at connecticut-east.com or Facebook or Twitter at Connecticut East and on Instagram at Connecticut East This Week. And you can listen to the show again on our social platforms, on demand, and by asking your smart speaker to play Connecticut East This Week podcast. And please like, follow, and share on your social media too. I'm Brian Scott Smith. Thank you for listening.